This is your 20-minute podcast, where we do our best to give you useful information in 20 minutes or less. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now, here's your host, David Brower.
This is David Brower with your 20-minute podcast, and our guest today is Diane Forster from the San Diego area. Hey, Diane, how are you?
I'm great, David. How are you?
Fabulous. Thank you so much for asking. So you are among other things, an intentional living expert. So I didn't even know that existed. I don't even know what that means. So help me out.
But my area of expertise has been focused on really helping people live intentionally in the moment in all areas of their life. And I really help them define what their passion is, what their purpose is, how to have healthy relationships in their romantic lives, with their families, with their children, and then feel joy, happiness, fulfillment in their career. So it's really, I help them in personal and professional lives. And the niche came to be based on my own journey and my own path and some of the things that I experienced in my own life, mostly personally, but professionally as well. And it just sort of evolved into this area where I was developing processes and systems that were very effective, creating lasting permanent change and really living my life very intentionally. And
wow.
Part of that is, I'll give you a little bit of the history when we get into it, but part of that is the art of manifestation and using the law of attraction. And it's around us all the time, but how do you create awareness of that and use that to serve your life in a much greater way?
And there's so many stereotypes out there, misunderstandings of terminology, because all of this is so new. And when someone talks about manifestations or somebody talks about laws of attraction, unless they really get with somebody like you who's been there, done that, they really don't know what they don't know about those things, right?
Exactly. And so I deal with a lot of different clients from, for lack of a better term, a 101 sort of mentality to people who really are advanced and really get it. So the way I work on the mindset, emotions, language, and I do it in a very simplistic way because the truth of the matter is, David, it really is easy. We make it so much harder than it has to be. But when someone comes to me and they are, struggling in an area of their life or certain areas of their life, they just can't see, they're mired down in the muck of it. And they can't see it clearly. So I also use my, I'm highly intuitive and I'm an empath, and I use those skills to really help them as well with that. And they just need sometimes just this most subtle little shift to create an enlightened awareness in an area. And all of a sudden their eyes are wide open and they're experiencing their life in a very, very different way. And so it's really, really powerful.
So tell me, what's an empath? I don't know what that is.
I'm very energy sensitive. It's
Okay.
Yeah. So I can really pick up people's energies. And sometimes it's hard for me to be in a very large crowded space with a lot of people who are very energetic. And if the emotions are strong or they're negative, I have to work really hard to protect myself because I absorb it and I take it in. So it's depleting for me. So sometimes I'll go to, I'm sort of an extroverted introvert. I'll go to events or conferences or meetings or places where there's a lot of people and where I'm on, for lack of a better term, and then I'll come back and I'll be completely exhausted because it just literally pulls all the energy out of me. So
have you always had that?
I have always had it. It hasn't been defined until, probably the last decade. I've really figured that out, that I was. And so it's definitely the more and more I tune into all of that, and really I practice my craft, and I'm a student of life, and I'm really working to hone in on all those skills. And the more and more I do that, the more and more awareness I have of it. But for myself, I've developed skills to really, protect myself from it. So, and
you
really,
bet, yeah.
keep it at bay so that.
What a gift and a challenge, right?
Yeah. You know what? It's really a gift. I don't even look at it as a challenge. It's now that I'm aware of it, it's
Right.
such a powerful
Wow.
tool. So
You always hear about tons of people are unhappy. People are suffering from depression. I've battled depression for a long time. People are suicidal.
yes.
All kinds of those things. And wow, it's mind-boggling sometimes. So how do you reach out to those people, or how do they find you, and how do you tap into them to put a smile on their face?
Well, a couple of ways. So my background, the personal journey that I went through was, I'll just give you a quick recap of it.
Okay.
But I was living in Chicago, and I was in a marriage for 20 years that was very unhappy and unhealthy. And I kept up the exterior to the outside world. It looked like everything was great. But inside, I was literally falling apart, and my soul and spirit were chipping away year after year because it was a very unloving, unnurturing relationship.
Yep.
But I forged through it and kept up the front and didn't want it to end. There were children involved. There was a lot of things going on. But the truth is that you can't live like that, neglecting your happiness and your spirit and your soul and your passion. And so, had never thought about it before. But one night I attempted suicide after I just couldn't take it anymore. And I had a moment. It was, locked in the bathroom, and had 2 bottles of pills in my hand, and I was ready to end it. And the pills were knocked out of my hands. And I heard the voice, and the voice said, "You are not ending this way. You have got to go get help because you need to tell your story and help others." And that was a direct order from the guy upstairs. And so I threw up my hands and said, "Well, you have to show me the way." And that set me down a path of changing my life. I got with a therapist right away, and it took about 6 months for the marriage to end. And there were a lot of other things that happened there.
Sure.
But shortly after the end of it, I went into a deep dive into myself and owning my part of it and looking at myself and asking the questions, why would I stay in a relationship like this? Why don't I love myself more? And why can't I forgive myself more and nurture myself more? And really set me down this path of self-discovery, self-development. And so I developed processes by utilizing the books I read and the seminars I went to and the podcasts I listened to, and really took in all of those teachings from all these amazing thought leaders and spiritual leaders and people in personal development and business development, the whole gamut. And so I wrote a book. So that's one way that people get to me. And I have an online coaching program, and I've got a website, and I'm lucky enough to be on podcasts like this with you. And I'm developing a lot of opportunity. I'm all over social media. And I really reach out to as many people as I can to let them know that there's a resource there for them that's a little different than something you've ever seen before, but it's really focused on the intentional part and going in right away and creating lasting, permanent results through subtle changes for them. So that's how I'm doing it. And I've got big vision for it and ways that I'm going to be able to reach. My goal is to reach the masses, because that's how you really create impact and change.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how I'm doing it right now.
It was interesting when you were telling me your story. I'm going, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, did that. And same deal. I mean, I'm a very strong man of faith, and I attempted suicide in November of 2014.
Wow.
And fortunately, the gun was unloaded.
Oh my God.
And so I had the same push, if you will. So I got counseling, I got the right kind of medications, whatever. And I'm like blessed on steroids because I understand a lot more about that than I ever did before. It's nice to share stories like that, like you do every day of your life with people, because somewhere along the way, your intuitiveness, your energy, all that stuff, I'm just amazed by how you do what you do. I'm really impressed.
Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing that, and see how we got connected and see the link there. And so it's being able to be vulnerable enough to share your story and, your tragedies, not just your triumphs, because that's what really connects people. And people are suffering. They're suffering alone, and they feel like they don't have support, and they need the outstretched hand. They need to know that they are not alone, and they need resources to help them. And I just offer another way because we're so powerful and people have no idea how powerful they are, how much strength and skills they have within themselves. And it's in the mind. We all live in this great big world, but we all live in our own little world. And it's the world that we live in our minds that creates our reality. And when you realize there's a better way and that you have the choice and the decision-making skills to shift things in your life, you don't have to be a victim of your circumstances. You don't have to be a victim of your past, that you can change. You can't change the events of your life, but you can change the association to the events and the emotional attachment to the events. And really, my company's name is I Have Today. And it's all about living in the present moment, that our lives are literally right now. You and me right here and now. This is life right now.
Right.
And so how to stay present in that and living that each single moment of your life and squeezing all the juice out of it every single day.
And if you're like me, and I know there are a lot of people are, if you look up overthinking in the dictionary, there's my picture.
Yes.
And so to be able to share with someone like you, to be able to have you figure out a way, obviously, of, hey, David, you don't have to overthink this thing. Here's some simple strategies. Here's some simple steps. Trust me to help you through this, right?
Exactly. I believe we have three minds. We have our head, our heart, and our gut. And we feel things first before we actually think things. And you need to trust wherever that lives in your body. If if something feels good, you feel it in your body. Like for me, if it feels good, I feel it in my heart. If it feels bad, I feel it in my gut. And I learn to trust that. And then when I overthink, that's when I get in the mind. And that always gets me in trouble. It's like, follow that instinct because it's correct.
Absolutely right. Could not agree more. And it's interesting because you can go back, and I'm speaking of you and me and whoever is listening to this, you can have your best day ever. I mean, best day ever. Mm-hmm. And you can still go back and go, wow, how was I in that place?
Right.
How did that happen?
Yes.
And be so grateful and so full of grace to be able to enjoy the moment where you are right now.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I believe that every single moment, including my lowest point there that night in June of 2011, was a gift. I mean, what a gift. Because, man, did I wake up and in a really powerful way. And my life is so completely different than it was. And I don't regret that. I mean, that was my path. That was my journey. But the way it opened up and the trajectory of it now is just more than I could have ever imagined. There's so much, greatness in that. So, and that's what I encourage my audience and my clients to see, that you have no idea how rich and wonderful and extraordinary your life can be. You just have to be open to it.
Let's talk about your book. I Have Today. Yes. Find Your Passion, Purpose, and Smile. Love that.
Yes.
Finally. And you're the founder of I Have Today, and that's the name of your company and helping people get empowered. But let's talk about your book. I think you mentioned earlier, that kind of came out of your story, right?
Yes, it did. I really wanted to be open and vulnerable with it and share some of the techniques and the tools that I created along my journey and my path back to me that served me really well. And I'm a believer in 3-step processes. And the whole concept of it is love it, thank it, bring it. That is the cornerstone of the way I live my life every day, in loving everything that's ever shown up in my life, showing gratitude for it, and then taking everything that's happened and then bringing it. How do I move forward with my life knowing those things, and experiencing those things? Loving it, appreciating it, and then moving it forward, and how you show up in your life in a really big way. And so I've developed other 3-step processes in the book on how to deal with fear, anxiety, worry, how to set intentions. I'm a huge believer in meditation. I meditate every day and believe that was the thing that really turned the corner for me, and really heightening up and firing up my intuition and my channeling and skills and all of that, and following my instincts and my gut on things. And so big believer in that. So I've created my own meditation practice because I know it's really hard for people to meditate. They think, shut off my mind. I don't have the time. And so I've developed processes to help people in that. So the book is filled with, and David, it's really quick stuff. I'm a believer in, we see books today and people are reading less and less and less. The most popular category of books now is the books that are 80 pages or less, because we're in such a fast moving time. So what I do is I go in and I take over 40 topics and I address a situation, I cite an example, and I give a solution. So it's a great reference. So you can pick it up at any time. You're laying in bed at night and you got an issue with your, communicating with someone, your child or your parent or something. Pick up and open up and read the part on communicating without emotion. And the feedback has been great. People are really using it. They tell me that it's changed their life, which moves me like you can't believe. And
right.
They're getting a lot of value with it. And then next with that is I have an online coaching program that's downloadable. It's, a one-time thing. You pay for it online, it's digitally downloaded to you, and then you have it. And it's filled with over 40 modules that, again, they're quick, but they complement the book. And so that you have that forever. So when you need the reference point, and it's me sitting talking to you, it's like we're sitting across from each other having a cup of coffee. And I just really candidly share how to do some of these processes.
Outstanding. We're about out of time, and I want to make sure that we let everybody know the different ways to reach out to you. And of course, the book I have today, Find Your Passion, Purpose, and Smile Finally. I assume available on Amazon and maybe Barnes & Noble. Where can people find that?
You can find it on Amazon. I encourage you to go to my website at ihavetoday.com.
Okay.
And right on the homepage, I have an opt-in for my free 30-day challenge on how to have a better today. And it's a great way to just in 30 days change your life, create more awareness, inspire you. And, the book's on there, the program's on there. And I also encourage you, contact me. There's a contact section. And I answer every email, every correspondence, because I really want to know you. So please do that, and let me help you and support you and provide you with other products and services that you need. So
fantastic. And I know I picked up on this, and I'm sure other people out there have picked on this. A couple of things that really come through with you. One is your authenticity. Your presentation with your voice is so calming and rich and effective when it needs to be. And you're a brilliant communicator, and I'm looking forward to reading your book. I thank you for your time today. It's really been cool. I only had goosebumps 3 times, so not bad.
My gosh. Thank you, David. Well, I'm honored, and thank you for the opportunity.
You've been listening to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower and our special guest, Diane Forster. And again, it's ihavetoday.com. You'll find everything there, including her 30-day challenge. And be sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/your 20-minute podcast.
Until next time, don't forget to download your free audiobook at audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast. That's audibletrial.com/your 20-minute podcast for your free audiobook. And thanks for listening to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower.